now, you're tuned into RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's Reveler Sports.
What's going on, RBLR Nation? You are tuning into the Rays portion of our podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Zach Blaine, and here with me, we missed him last week, but he's back now from vacation. Mr. Ben Whitelaw, how you doing today, sir?
Hey, it's good to be back. How's it going, Zach?
Oh, it is going, man. Just ready to talk baseball. We had a whole week off without you, and now you're back to give us all the numbers that we were missing last week.
No, I listened last week on the plane ride back over, and it was good. I liked it. It's a great episode.
Yeah.
You had some great stuff to cover too with that walk-off home run, so that was exciting.
Oh, well, he hit another one this. It wasn't a walk-off, but he hit another one this week, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But anything happen Rays-wise that you're just itching to talk about?
Well, I mean, taking 2 out of 3 from Seattle was great. Started off the series against the Twins with a win yesterday. We've got Pinto with his major league debut this week. Ben Bowden, I don't know. Doesn't matter. He's in AAA. He was claimed off waivers from Colorado. And Mejia and Choi are kind of like out of the lineup a little bit, but they should be back soon. So that's really like all the big stuff that I had. Anything you had?
Well, yeah, you mentioned Pinto making his debut. Him and Josh Lowe hit their debut MLB home runs this week, which was pretty exciting.
Yeah, it's always nice to get that first one out of the way. So hopefully, more will come with both of them, but we'll see.
So then we'll just go ahead and get right into it. Then you mentioned taking 2 or 3 from the Mariners. We'll get into the first one that was on Tuesday. That was the 1 loss, 8-4 loss. What were your thoughts on that game?
It happens. I mean, the umpires definitely did not favor the Rays in that game. I'm over it now. I'm okay. Like, it's going to even out as the season goes on. But I thought Matt Whistler was great. He had a 1.07 FIP in that game. There's been some like weird stuff about Fleming, like saying like, oh, he has to come in as a reliever. He can't be a starter. But like his FIP and expected FIP are like the same no matter what. So that stuff is kind of just a weird false narrative thing. Fleming was good. He had a 400 BABIP, but really the umpire hurt him a lot. The Rays defense definitely let him down a little bit, but like they had to get like 5 outs every inning. So it is what it is. Yeah, they did well in the expected batting average department. They outplayed him for sure, but yeah, it's fine. I'm not too mad about it. What about you?
Yeah, the big thing that pops out to me is the 3 errors that we had. I mean, Choi with that one throw, that kind of just that's a sign to me that something wasn't right, and that's kind of my opinion on why we lost the game. I mean, looking at the box score, we had one pitcher that gave up an earned run, and that was Phoenix Sanders. And in all reality, for them to score 8 runs and only one of them was earned, unless I'm looking at that wrong, is wild to me.
No, yeah, it is. But the one of the errors, I don't know if they counted as an error, but it was like Wander, like, help trying to turn a double play with Brandon Lau. Brandon Lau like drops the ball in the exchange. It was definitely an out, but they called him safe on the field, and then they go to replay. So of course they call him safe. The replay system is broken, but if they get that out, they weren't going to turn the double play probably, but if they get that out, then Choi doesn't have to play so far in and then make that quick throw to the plate. He would have been able to, play even with the bag, just collect that ground ball and step on it. So if the umpires could do their job, we probably get out of that inning with minimal damage, if any. But yeah, it's going to happen, and the Rays are going to get some calls to go their way later in the season. But it's just frustrating how the replay system, operates on the idea that the call on the field is the most important thing, not necessarily like if it was correct or not. So like they just kind of honor and protect like the umpires that are there instead of trying to get the call right. Yeah, they need to fix that, but it's fine for one game, I guess.
Yeah, so I know we're a Rays podcast, but there was a game I was watching. I want to say it was the Phillies game. And I think Angel Hernandez was behind the plate. And in this week alone, I think Eureka mentioned it in our group chat. Like, if you're a proponent of the robo umps, this was a very good week for you.
Yeah, definitely. It was we shouldn't know the umpires' names. Like, we should not know their names. We should only know their names when it's like, "Hey, did you know that this is the guy's name who did a great job today?" Like, that's the only context where we should know an umpire's name. Like, I know too many umpires' names, and I hate that because I shouldn't know them. They shouldn't stand out to me, but they do because a lot of them are bad at their job. There's like 3 good ones, but I don't know their names
Yeah.
because all the other ones are just so terrible by comparison.
Yeah, because you don't hear all the slander of the good ones, so we don't ever hear their names. But yeah, Angel Hernandez is one of those guys that will forever go down as one of the worst MLB umpires I think ever.
Yeah, I really like I like to make fun of him. It's pretty fun. But yeah, I know he rung up Kyle Schwarber, which I don't really like Kyle Schwarber. I don't care much for him, but like that was it was pretty bad. And
Yeah,
yeah, Phil Cuzzy in that Rays game was not much better. So yeah, I have nothing
exactly.
else to say on that game. It was a lot closer than it seemed, but the umpires just probably wanted to go home early or something. I don't know.
Yeah, and that'll kind of play into the next game, the next few games against the Mariners, because I agree that it was much closer than the score finished out to be, and that kind of comes into play in the next game where we win 3-2. We have a good old, if I'm not mistaken, that was a Drew Rasmussen outing with, was that Drew Rasmussen? Yeah, that was Drew Rasmussen's 6 inning, 9K performance. What are you thinking on that one?
That was his best start ever, probably. He
Mm-hmm.
got incredible results. Like, he was getting swing and miss. Everything was working for him. I checked out like his pitch grades and stuff afterwards, and it actually was like one of his worst starts of the season in terms of his stuff and his command. But
Wow.
he mixed his pitches well, so I mean, he got it done, and that just shows that if he's on and he's like, if he has his stuff and his command working, he could probably like burn through 7, 8 innings pretty easily because he did 6 with average command and average stuff. So he's got some good potential for sure.
Yeah, it's exciting to me to see him do so good because I mean, obviously, last season I was a huge proponent of him. I'm a huge Rasmussen fan, um, and to see him only give up one walk, which is where we were having issues with last week when Eureka and I were discussing it. We were giving up a lot of walks, so to see him come in and give up just 2 hits and one walk while striking out 9, I think is an insanely good start to what I think could come in the future.
Definitely. And the Seattle offense isn't terrible. Like, they're one of the better offenses in the league at this early part of the season. So he went out there and took care of business. I think they're a little bit more right-handed heavy this year. So that kind of played into Rasmussen's favor, but he still went out there and put out his best results as a starter. So yeah, I love it. The 43% whiff rate was awesome.
Yeah, and Kiermaier hit an absolute bomb in this
Yeah, a
game as well.
431-foot game-winning home run. That's just what he does at this point, I guess. I think he's up to a 113 weighted runs created plus on the season, which is pretty great. If he does that for a whole season, he's gonna be like a 5 or 6 win player. Like, that's what I wanted for a very long time. So hope we get to see more of it. He also had a 650 expected batting average that game, so he's been lighting it up.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't mean to blow your head up or anything, but you've been calling this forever. Like,
I mean, he just has to be average. That's it. And then the rest is going to carry him. And we're seeing that happen. He's still in great shape, even for, I think he's 32 now. He's still in the 97th percentile in sprint speed. Like, he's not aging like a normal 32-year-old because he takes good care of himself. And, it took him a while to learn how to take good care of himself. But he's doing it now, which is nice.
yeah, he's on that TB12 diet now.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's actually for real, guys listening. I don't know if that's accurate, so don't write that down as a quote from Zach, please.
Yeah. He
Uh,
might be. Who knows?
hey, it wouldn't hurt, I don't think. But we'll just go ahead and jump right into the next game then. We didn't have very many games this week, which is kind of exciting, but also I don't know how I feel about it now that we've had one day off the first 3 weeks. Um, But the next game is a 2-1 Rays win, and obviously this game makes me feel good because both of our runs were produced by the one and only Mr. Brett Phillips.
Yeah, he had some timely hits in that game, and I really thought the game could have been blown open. Like the expected batting average, the Rays were, ahead of Seattle by like 40 points. So it really could have been a much larger scoreline, but it's nice that they were able to, win that one-run game.
Yeah, and I mean, this was a game where we had it was another bullpen day. Basically, we had Springs come in for the start and throw 2 2/3 inning, only giving up 3 hits. That's something that I was pleasantly surprised by.
Yeah, that was the longest outing of his career. He had a 44% whiff rate on his changeup, that changeup is disgusting. It's probably one of my favorite pitches, like out of all the Rays players. Like I think it's awesome. He had a .83 FIP on the day. Fireisen was great as well. Thompson was great. He threw 2 perfect sliders to get the save at the end of the game there. Just an overall great bullpen performance again.
Yeah, and I would like to point out someone who I feel like we don't talk about very much on the show. We talked about him in the offseason because he was one of those guys that was a roster bubble, to say kind of the least. But Jason Adam,
Yeah, he's
he
been
is one of
great.
he's one of those guys that I was not expecting to be as great as he has been, but he has been phenomenal for us.
I know there's some overperformance there because he hasn't. I don't think he's given up a hit yet, which is kind of weird. But that's going to come eventually. But his stuff is still great. He's got a really nice changeup as well, and he's got a pretty hard fastball. So he's making it work. He's hitting his spots, and the Rays are putting him in positions to be successful. So no complaints here.
Yeah, and then a question for you regarding relieving pitchers. Do you think Colin Poche is now in the lineup for good?
No, I think he
Oof.
needs some more time in Durham. I like him a lot, but the results have been okay. There's just some stuff like mechanically and with his stuff that's like it's not where it used to be. It's getting there. It's like slowly getting better. We're seeing it like every couple of days he like improves a little bit. But I think with these upcoming roster cuts, we can talk about this in a little while. But I think he might be one of the ones on the fence. But I don't know. What do you think?
Okay. Yeah, I was the complete opposite of that. I think that he's to me, obviously I'm not as inept with the numbers and everything as you are, but to me, just as a fan watching the game, he looks like he's, to me, improved so much over what we've seen the past little while with him, and I'm very impressed with what he's doing at the MLB level so far.
Yeah, I mean he's getting decent results and he has improved since like, getting called up this season, but 2019 he was on like another level with his rise on his fastball, his spin rates and all that. The rise is okay. He's getting really good extension on his delivery, which is nice, but it's like his release point's been inconsistent. It's just yeah, it's iffy. I mean, he's on the fence. I think he'll be fine if he stays, but I wouldn't be upset if he went to AAA.
Yeah, I guess the part that I wasn't thinking about before I asked that question is who would he replace, or whose spot would he take? And I don't know that I could pick a pitcher for him to replace, full time. So I guess your answer is probably more accurate the more that I think about it.
Well, I mean, Springs is going to be the first lefty out of the bullpen just based on what he's been able to do last year and then early this season. Poche is, close to that, but I don't think he's necessarily like someone that can be relied upon just yet. And I want to see him like continue to get like an innings limit. Like I don't want him to just kind of run wild, which I know like Cash and them wouldn't do. But I think it's a safer place for him in Durham where he can continue to just work on things and not worry so much about the results because um, wins are starting to become more important as the season goes on. Like, early on it's not a huge deal if you drop a game or two, but um, Toronto's not really dropping games. The Yankees
The
are winning
Yankees,
games for
ugh.
some reason.
Blech.
Yeah, so the Rays do need to continue to beat up against the teams like Oakland and Seattle coming up here on this road trip. So we'll see. Like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets sent down, but I also wouldn't be upset if he was kept on the big league roster. But yeah, somebody's gonna have to go though.
Yeah, exactly. Well, anything else to go over in the series against Seattle so far?
No, that's about it. I mean, it's nice that the Rays came out and took 2 out of 3. First game was a little unfortunate. They could have had 3 out of 3, but we'll take 2 out of 3. That's fine. No big deal. Bullpen was great as always, and the bats were pretty consistent. Yandy had a pretty good series, like quietly. So did Taylor Walls. So everybody's contributing.
All right. So now we get into a game that Eureka and I talked about the starting pitcher in Corey Kluber last week, who I was kind of losing faith in, but then he comes out and performs really, really good against Minnesota, where we get a 6-1 win.
That was awesome yesterday. I felt like Dylan Bundy was overperforming, and I made a note of that in my pregame notes that day. I'm like, hey, this walk rate, this BABIP, and I think it was his FIP was like just way off. And then he regressed, and it happened pretty quickly. Excuse me. The Rays, jumped on him because they knew he was going to throw strikes. He doesn't like to walk guys, and they just came out aggressive. He did settle in later, but that was really all the Rays needed, so it paid off. It was a nice game plan.
Yeah, and I think the biggest takeaway for me, literally, and like I feel like I'm being kind of repetitive, but to see Kluber come out and throw 6 innings, which the last time he threw over 5 innings, he got hit 11 times for, I think it was like 7 earned runs or 6 earned runs, something along those lines. But for him to come out and throw 6 innings, only allow 1 hit and only 1 earned run while striking out 6, like that was massive for me to see him come out and be who we as Rays fans were kind of expecting or hoping for when we signed him.
Yeah, he was great. I really liked the whiff rate on his changeup, 60%, 30%, 36% whiff rate on the curve, a 1.57 FIP on the day. Like everything was working for him. He's he's a great like 3 or 4 starter, and I like the presence that he brings to the team. He's just a good pitcher to have on your staff. He's not going to be like, the number 1 or number 2 starter he was in the past, and the Rays don't expect him to be that, but he is going to be like a guy with a FIP in like the mid 3s, and he's going to give you, 25 to 30 starts this season. They might not all be very long starts, but he's going to give that, and he's going to be a good influence on all the other young pitchers. So overall, I really liked his performance, and the offense did pretty well too.
Yeah, we finally got Zunino out of into the triple digits in batting average, which is nice.
Yeah, I think his shoulder's feeling better.
Yeah, it's been a rough ride with Zunino, and obviously defensively is where he's at. Like that's his bread and butter. But it's hard to see when we have Mejia lighting up at the plate. I know that he's not as good defensively as Zunino is, but obviously he's out right now. But to see him doing so well and still have Zunino up until this week batting, I think it was like a 0.75 or a 0.89 or something along those lines. It's kind of disheartening a little bit. I can't lie.
Well, I mean, Mejia's kind of just swinging at everything and making contact, and it's worked for him now, but it's not really sustainable. Like it's not going to, I mean, who knows? Maybe he gets lucky the whole season, but I don't think that could really happen for a full 162 games. He's a good number 2 catcher though, and that's, I'm happy with that.
All right, so yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with that as far as like he definitely can't get lucky all season, but I mean, I'll take all the luck I can get until it's not working anymore, I guess at this point.
Oh yeah, definitely. And honestly, Mejia, I think he's obviously having a better offensive season than Zunino, but he kind of has to because Zunino is that much better defensively and with his game calling. I don't really like ERA that much, but it's the best we got for this. So Mike Zunino's, or like the team ERA when Mike Zunino is the catcher, is 2.56, which is phenomenal. That's amazing. When Francisco Mejia is the catcher, it's 4.50. So that's almost like double. That's like 2 runs higher than when Zunino's catching. So he kind of, I mean, not that it's all on him, but he does have to contribute like a run or two to the offense every day he plays in some way to make up for his defense. So, it's not all on him to make up that offense, but that's a pretty big drop off. So, I mean, there's nowhere really else to put him. He's not going to play first base. He's not going to be a corner outfielder. He's not going to DH. But with the defensive value, Zunino's got to be getting like 60 to 70% of the starts at catcher.
Oh yeah, no, I agree with that 100%. I think that if at any point it were to come down to like him wanting to be a starter over Zunino, like that's not going to happen until Zunino leaves Tampa. Which, as much as I don't like the batting average, I don't want Zunino to leave.
No, I hope that when he retires, he stays as like a coach or something, because he's got a really good baseball mind for sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, that is, as wild as it sounds, that's all the games we have this week.
Yeah, it was pretty short. I mean, I know you guys covered a couple more games, or you covered like an extra game last week or something. So
the last Boston game, yeah.
Right. So, I mean, that makes sense. But yeah, overall, it was a pretty good week. I don't have too many complaints. Any other things that stood out to you from the week?
Not necessarily that stood out for me. Again, I mentioned it in the beginning, but it was very nice to see Josh Lowe and Renee Pinto get their first big league home runs. We didn't really talk about that, but the last game, Lowe hit a beautiful 3-run home run, which love to see that. I guess that's really the big takeaway for me. And we'll get into players of the week later, and I might have just given away a little bit of mine solely based off of just the idea of it.
Yeah, I mean, we can do the player of the week right now, I guess. That I'm fine with that. So you want to go with your bat first?
Yeah, I will go with my bat first, and it was it's weird because it was kind of a slow week offensively up until last night. Like we didn't score very many runs. So my bat, I'm gonna go. It was between Phillips and Lowe, but I'm gonna go with Lowe based off it being his first home run, and he did bring in 3 RBIs with it. And again, it's nothing. It wasn't like a crazy week for anyone, in my opinion. So it's kind of a hard week for me to pick one. But I am gonna go with Josh Lowe based off it being his first home run and being a 3-run shot.
Nice. I like that. He had a really good game yesterday. I don't really remember too much about his other games this week, but I do know that he was definitely the star of the show yesterday.
Yeah. So who's yours?
It's got to be Kevin Kiermaier.
Okay. Yeah.
He was phenomenal. I was looking into the Fangraphs clutch rating stuff, and he had the highest clutch rating this week at 0.47. So 0 is average. 0.5 is good. 1 is great. 2 is amazing, and he had a 0.47. So it was pretty good. It was the highest on the team this week. And actually, he has the second highest clutch rating this season among all players in Major League Baseball, which is really interesting. He's at 0.97. So the highest was like Trey Turner, I think. But yeah, I mean, I don't really believe in clutch too much as like a thing, but I like the way that they measure it at Fangraphs, so that's something I can latch on to. He also had a 0.2 F-WAR this week, which was the highest on the team, along with Yandy Diaz and Harold Ramirez. So he was producing well, and he added a lot of value to the team this week. He had a 249 weighted runs created plus, so he was 149% better than the average hitter this week. And he also had a 9.1 walk rate and a 9.1 strikeout rate, so he was pretty nice at the plate. And he had that 2-run game-winning home run against Seattle, so really nice week for KK. And he was great defensively, but that's a given.
You know what? I'm all for it. I am all for it, and I know how good it makes you feel to be able to say KK is your player of the week.
I thought you were going to go with Phillips, honestly.
I really, really, really wanted to. Like, there's no argument about it. It was between him and Lowe, and I only picked Lowe because it was his first home run. I was like, we'll give him a little extra time in the spotlight. Phillips had his. I'll just wait for another week to call Phillips my player of the week. It'll happen. I know it will.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Phillips wasn't terrible this week. He had a 104 weighted runs created plus, so he was 4% better than average. But I don't know what Josh Lowe's was, but Yeah, I mean everybody kind of contributed in some way this week though with the bat, so it was a nice week.
So who do you got as your arm then?
I think we probably have the same one here, but Drew Rasmussen.
There we go.
Yeah,
There we
it
go.
has to be. He had the highest FWAR this week at 0.3. He had a 0.6 FIP, a 42.9 strikeout rate, a walk rate under 5, and a 43% whiff rate this week. Like he was dealing. He actually had his worst fastball command of the season by the I don't know. I've been paying attention a lot the pitching bot guy on Twitter. So he measures like pitch quality and stuff. He has worst fastball command. His stuff wasn't great. It was not his best this season, but he mixed his pitch as well. So, like I said before, if he can, sharpen up and mix his pitch as well, like he did the other day, he's gonna have a couple more really great starts this season.
Yeah, and you were spot on when you said we were going to have the same guy. That was exactly who I had. I was thinking about throwing a reliever in there, but I could not overlook the game that Rasmussen had.
Yeah, it was special. I mean, I want to try to do a bullpen guy eventually, but like I'm looking at like strictly in terms of like value added to the team, and Rasmussen was way above everybody else, so it had to be him for me.
Yep, and I could not agree more. And I think that there is very possibly one way that we could get a bullpen arm in there, and I think that would be if they were to potentially go to shop.rblrsports.com and check out one of our amazing team inspired t-shirts that we have with, we got we got shirts that are inspired by the Rays, the Lightning, the Rowdies, the Bucks. We even have some Bandit stuff in there. Highly recommend you guys go check it out. And even some of the guys on the team should be doing it. But just for you guys listening, we might not even offer this to the guys on the team. Just for you guys listening, Mr. Ben, you have a discount code for them, don't you?
Yeah, they just have to go to shop.rblrsports.com and use our promo code FLAPPY. That's FLAPPY. You can get 10% off your order, and you will also look great. So there's really, no reason not to get a shirt. I don't understand what the holdup is.
Yeah, I mean it's a win-win either way. You're saving 10%, and if you're a single guy or girl, you're getting more dates out of it. Facts. It's proven. But yeah, so I mean, yeah, right. You like that? So aside that's all the games out of the way. I know that there wasn't much news or anything, but what are you looking forward to? We kind of touched on a little bit as far as games we're playing next week. What are you looking forward to this upcoming week of Rays baseball?
I want to see some guys get healthy, first of all. I want Mejia to stop having COVID. I think that would be great. It's a little selfish that he still has COVID when, we need, players to keep playing, but it's fine. He'll get healthy. Pinto's been doing a great job in his place. I really like his defense. Been framing really, really well, which is cool. He's got a little bit of pop in the bat. Like, yeah, it's impressive. Zanino was hurt a little bit, but we got him back. Jimon Choi, he was available yesterday. He's got, he hyperextended his shoulder or elbow or something like that. He'll be fine though. He's, pretty much just day to day. Should be back today, possibly. Luis Patino, he's working his way back. He started playing catch a few days ago, so he's on the right track. Ryan Yarbrough, he had his second rehab start. It went pretty well. He could rejoin the team as early as Tuesday, so I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be like Christmas for me. Just a lot of guys coming back. Shane Boz is throwing bullpens. He's working his way back. He should be back possibly June 6th, is what they're saying. Chagua is playing catch at 90 feet. Chirinos and Glasnow are playing catch together, so they could honestly field like a whole bullpen with all the injured guys. And Nick Anderson is throwing bullpens now. He's like, basically at like, going full speed. So lots of guys coming back. They're on their way. Just hope that they continue to get healthy.
Yeah, I mean, and I feel like we talked about this a lot last season. a lot of people forget some of the names and the talent that we have on the IL right now.
Yeah,
So just
there's a lot.
yeah, just to get some of those guys back, like you said it yourself, we could field the whole bullpen just with the guys that are getting ready to come off of IL at some point.
Pinto, Fairbanks, Chirinos, Anderson, McKay, Glasnow, like that's like a top 5 pitching staff right there in the league.
Yeah,
So I don't know
100%.
where they're gonna fit in when they all get healthy, if and when they all get healthy. But I'm glad that's not our job to make that decision because that would be really hard. Like there's too much talent. I would feel so bad telling some guys to go to North Carolina and that they can't stay in St. Pete.
Yeah, I foresee and this is obviously a while away, but I foresee a very eventful trade deadline for us.
Definitely. And honestly, it's going to be an eventful day on May 2nd. We're actually going to get a roster crunch. They're going to shift from 28 guys to 26 guys. So teams are going to be allowed to carry a maximum of 14 pitchers. Right now, the Rays have 15. So out of the 15 guys, who do you think is going to be the one that goes down to Durham or gets cut
Yeah,
or traded possibly? I don't know. But who's the odd man out?
I'm the odd man out right now, and I know I mentioned it earlier, but I think that as big of a fan of his as I am, I think that Poche is going to be out May 2nd.
Yeah, I could see him. I mean, he needs a little bit more time. I was thinking maybe Phoenix Sanders, just because I mean he's been good, but he's still pretty inexperienced, and he's not,
Yeah,
he doesn't have the best like expected metrics. Javi Guerra, the guy they got from the Padres, um, I don't really see him sticking around super long. I like what he does. I like his delivery. I like his stuff. So I think sending him to Durham and having him work on stuff for a while might be nice, but I don't think he has options actually, so maybe they're not going to do that. But yeah, it's probably going to be Sanders or Poche, I think.
yeah, that would be my second guess would be Sanders. I don't. I feel like it's such a hard decision because both of them have so much potential. If I'm not mistaken, Phoenix Sanders is a little bit younger, so maybe to me that like I know that doesn't really matter in pro sports, but I feel like maybe that's something that he gets looked at to go down. Well, you've got more years behind you, just get better, and you'll have more years in the MLB, kind of a deal.
Yeah, it's hard to say, and like they're going to want to balance the bullpen with lefties and righties. So there's a case for both guys. Whichever they decide it's honestly going to be fine. Like it's not going to change the team that much. But what I will think is going to change the team a bit is they're going to have to also drop one batter. So the
Yeah,
Rays can carry a maximum of 14 pitchers. I doubt they're going to carry 13 and like save all of their bats because like they need as much pitching as they can get right now with how many starters are injured, and everybody's still kind of getting built up a little bit. So who do you think is going to go out of all the bats? Because one is likely to go.
yeah, and so I agree with you that I do think at least one bat is going. We have to get rid of a pitcher, so we're definitely dropping down one pitcher. But that's where it gets kind of fuzzy for me because I don't know.
I mean,
Like
it's not going
who?
to be. It can't be Brandon Lau. It's not going to be G-Man Choi.
No.
It's not going to be Wander. It's not going to be Yandy. Sorry, it's not going to be Taylor Walls. Probably. I think he's safe. He's had a really
Yeah.
great couple weeks. Um, I think it's going to probably be an outfielder. I think they've got like 5 or 6 outfielders on the roster, and you can only play 3 at a time. So that's probably where
So
the log jam is.
that was kind of what I was thinking, but then I go to start thinking about the players that we have in the outfield, and like I just can't think of a name that unless we trade Ramirez, I can't think of a name that I would be comfortable with sending down.
I think, I mean, Ramirez, if he goes, he's going to be claimed by another team. He doesn't have options, so
Yeah.
he's probably safe. I want to say. I think the Rays like what he does with his bat. Um, as a righty because they do need that balance. So I think Josh Lowe is going to be the odd man out. I think he's going to get optioned to AAA.
Yeah. Okay. So for some reason, I didn't even think about him, to be completely honest with you. Like, his name didn't even click in my head. I guess because I just said he was the player of the week. But yeah, he's got the lowest batting average out of all of them. And aside from getting walks, which he's very good about getting on base. I'll give him that. But he's not producing the way that the other guys are in the outfield.
Yeah, he's not up to the standard defense. Like he's a really good defender. Like he's definitely above average. He's not great, but he's above average. But he's still like the fourth or fifth best defensive outfielder on his own team. So like he's not going to stick around as like a defensive replacement. The team is already pretty left-handed heavy, and Kiermaier is the center fielder. It seems like Josh Lowe is going to be the one that's out here. I mean, it's great that if they do send him down, they're sending him down like on a high note, like with his home run and stuff. So I don't think it'll leave a bad taste in his mouth, and I don't think it'll hurt his development. But yeah, I just don't see them getting rid of, Ramirez or Phillips or KK. Like, unless there's some kind of big trade, which I doubt we're going to see, it's probably going to be Josh Lowe.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with saying Josh Lowe is going to be the guy that's on the outs, and I do think he'll be back. I think that we will trade somebody before, either at the deadline or before the deadline. So I have all the faith in the world that he'll be back and he will be developed better. But I do think that he's the odd man out in the field.
Yeah, I mean, who do you think they're going to trade later by the deadline to get Josh Lowe some playing time?
Either Ramirez and I'm going to stick to it. I've been saying it. I do think KK gets traded at some point. I think that he's too valuable to not be traded, and he's still very expensive.
I mean, he is expensive, like in terms of like how he has like one of the higher contracts on the team, but he's like generating value like 3 times that contract based on his output. So like if he's traded, it would have to be like a really big return for the Rays, because they're not just going to trade away like, he's essentially playing like a $25 to $30 million player. So for them to trade that away, they would have to get a lot back. I guess with surplus value, it's more like a $15 to $20 million, but that's still like a really big piece. He doesn't. I mean, he's really coming into his own offensively this year. He's been solid. He's got couple really nice games offensively. He's consistent defensively. If they get a big enough haul, maybe it would probably have to be for like a frontline starter type thing. Even though I think they seem like they're fine with pitching depth, so I don't know.
Yeah. So do you think that this is the year where we can finally get the haul that Tampa has been wanting for a guy like Kiermaier?
No, I don't think so. I think they're going to keep the roster pretty much the same. Maybe add a couple at the margins. Maybe add like a right-handed platoon bat at the deadline that nobody's ever heard of. Maybe add a bullpen guy that comes in and throws 700 miles an hour. But I don't think any majors are going to get moved. I think they're really happy with this core. Listening to interviews with Eric Neander, Peter Bendix, they seem like they really like their guys. So, yeah, I just the way they're talking to KK, like, hey, you're safe, find your home here, whatever. They had very different words for Austin Meadows, but they didn't specifically say like, hey, you're going to get traded, but he left. So.
But he's gone.
Yeah, he's gone. They got a really good haul for Austin Meadows. That might be like the biggest haul they're going to get for a while, because teams are going to look at Detroit and be like, why did you do that about a year from now? So yeah, it's hard to say. I just think they're going to keep this core together and either let them age out and walk, or trade somebody maybe next season. But I think this season it's pretty set for the most part.
Yeah, so I see what you're saying. I do think that we got a haul for Meadows, but I also think that I don't necessarily think that people are going to be questioning Detroit, because, I mean, he's having a pretty solid season so far for Detroit.
Right. I mean, and they had to make that trade but the things they gave up to get him are way more than what he's worth. So they probably, I mean, they even threw in like a second round pick, which is really valuable. That's worth like about like $3 million on its own. So Paredes has been doing really well in AAA, and he's going to be here probably next year. Like, I don't think he's going to crack the roster this year, but that makes sense. I mean, they're pretty stacked. So yeah, I think with the Rule 5 draft also coming up next year, I think they're going to wait a little bit more before they make any big roster changes. Because this year I'm pretty sure like it's canceled for good, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think that you are correct. I don't think that there's a Rule 5 this year.
Yeah, so there's really going to be like no urgency to move guys until we get, until the postseason possibly, like, or after the postseason. So the off season is what I meant to say.
Yeah, so I mean that pretty much, I mean, that covers everything that I have. Do you have anything else you want to cover about, the week coming up or just the Rays in general?
No, I'm just looking forward to this roster crunch. I'm excited to see what the team does, and I think they changed the baseball. I think they juiced the balls again.
I agree.
It feels like it. I looked at the numbers yesterday. We had a 9.7 home run to fly ball rate from the beginning of the season up until Thursday, and then Friday's game, the home run to fly ball rate was 16.1%. So that's a really big increase. It doesn't seem like we've had that. Like, I was looking back at individual dates before we got on, and I'm like, oh wow, it's 9:00. I have to get over there. So I haven't looked into it all the way, but this is a really big outlier for one day of baseball. So we're gonna have to pay attention to that. Anything above, like, I want to say 13, maybe 14% might suggest that they've changed the balls. Like, if we see that consistently going forward. I'm kind of surprised I haven't seen much about it on Twitter yet, because, I mean, yeah, I want somebody who has more access to not just publicly available Fangraphs data to like look into stuff. So if anybody's listening and you work for a baseball team, you're an intern or something, tell me what's happening, please. Thank you.
We want the inside scoop. We need it. We want it. We deserve it. Give it to us.
Yeah, it seems like the ball changed, and I didn't think much of it, but yesterday, like, Brandon Lau's leadoff double, I'm like, oh wow, he always gets a lot of carry on his balls, like that he hits, the fly balls. And I'm like, wait a minute, that was like a lot of carry. Like, it was hit at 106, but like, I don't know, the ball looked a little bit different off the bat. Zanino's, I mean, his was a missile, but still, like, I don't know, something's up there.
Yeah, I mean, Kiermaier hit a 431-foot bomb, so something's off.
Well, that was before Friday. Like, I think Wednesday when he did that, it was like the home run to fly ball rate was like 6% that day. But I think yesterday something, I don't know, maybe they just, I don't know what they did. I don't know what happened, but something seems different about the baseballs. So we're gonna have to pay attention to that this week and see if it's anything significant.
Yeah, well, I agree, and the last thing I will say is I want to thank you guys listening, you the listeners at home, for just sticking with us this long. We've taken up some of your day, and we appreciate you giving us the ability to do so. And if we could ask you guys for one more thing, it would be just go wherever you're listening to this, whether it's Spotify, Apple Music, anywhere that you listen to it, YouTube. If you could just give us a like and a follow on the podcast itself, and then on social media, we're at RBLR Sports on all the major platforms. If you could just give us a follow, that would be awesome. I'm here with the Blame Boys, and we're just having a good time talking with you guys. So we would just really appreciate that. And I will, with that, give Mr. Ben Whitelaw the last word of the day.
Yeah, like Zach said, don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at RBLR Sports. You can follow us individually as well. That would be kind of cool. I do daily game notes and stuff. And I yell into the void. So if you like that, just hop on board. But yeah, thank you all for liking, subscribing on Spotify, iHeartRadio app, Apple and Google Podcasts, YouTube, all that good stuff. You know what to do. Just click those buttons, those stars, those hearts, whatever, and go Rays.
Yeah. Can we get a go Rays? Can you say go Rays? Say it. Say go Rays.
Go Rays.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, Please remember to like and subscribe.